Hello and welcome to another episode of Hood Wisdom Wednesday. I am your host, Yashika Foster. Listen, this is the episode of Hood Parenting where we talk practical life skills, inner growth, and it's just like your midweek check-in, right? That midweek check-in where you say, you know what, I need some wisdom. I need some everyday wisdom. I need some practical tools to help me get through the rest of this week, right? And you can come right here on Hood Parenting on YouTube and get a dose of that on Hood Wisdom Wednesday. Listen, also, if this is your first time here, I appreciate you, okay? I know that my platform is growing and I am forever grateful. When I tell you for each new subscriber I do a celebration. I do like a whole dance because I am just really, really enjoying watching the numbers raise on my YouTube channel. So for all you new subscribers out there, hello and welcome. And thank you so much for joining me. And while you're here, don't be shy. Go ahead and leave a comment down below. Go ahead and leave a suggestion. And you can even tell me, Yashika, you know what? Why don't you talk about this subject here? Because I need some advice here and I'll do it for you. I won't even mention your name. I won't mention anything if that's what you want me to do. So you just let me know. Today on Hood Wisdom Wednesday, we are talking about what they don't teach you about boundaries. You know what? When it comes to boundaries, right? We are told that we have to be nice. We are told not to be rude, right? Make sure you keep the peace, okay? All right. We are really taught how to enforce our boundaries when it comes to other people. And when we do not learn how to enforce our boundaries, ladies and gentlemen, you know what happened? You know that's right. It turns out to you becoming resentful, you having burnout, and you can end up breaking relationships simply because your boundaries were not in place or you did not enforce your boundaries. All right. So first, let's talk about what boundaries are. Boundaries aren't like walls. They're not like these things where you say, okay, do not pass here. Do not pass here. They're not like walls, right? They are more like guidelines for people of teaching people how to treat you. It's letting people know, listen, I'm okay with this, but I'm not okay with that. Right? That's what boundaries are. It's just like that it's a guide. It's like a guidebook. It's like almost like the person looks at it and be like, okay, turn to chapter 3 if you want to address this with Yashika. I mean, that's just what it is. That's what your boundaries are. Your boundaries are just guidelines that kind of help people understand how you want to be treated, right? But here's why a lot of us are afraid to enforce our boundaries. This is why we struggle with them the most, right? We struggle with enforcing our boundaries with people, right? The reason why we do that is because we are afraid of rejection. We are afraid as soon as someone says, as soon as we enforce our boundaries, they're not going to like us, they're going to reject us, or we're people pleasers, or we're going to be guilty because we felt like, well, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I shouldn't have, done that. You know what I mean? Maybe I should have, did this or did that. Let me tell y'all a story real quick that just happened this week, okay? This week on Sunday about boundaries, okay? Now, I will post somewhere in this video that conversation that I had on my porch about this particular incident. And so I'm going to post it right here in this video.
Y'all tell me something. What's the age of the elder in a church? Because I want to know. Okay.
So y'all, let me tell y'all what happened today at church.
I'm really at that age where
Don't even care no more. Like when I
tell you I'm at the age where I do not care and whatever come up, come out. Now, let me tell you what happened today at church. So a couple of weeks ago, they put out in church that, they was going to have small groups. You could sign up for small groups, let us know if you want to do a small group. Okay, so for those of y'all that don't know, I was on a podcast back in June, July called Soft White Underbelly. Okay. And so about a month ago, I had a conversation with my pastor. And my pastor, and I told him, I said, well, Pastor, I did an interview on the podcast you might be interested in because I'm interested in a small group. Well, you might, I did an interview on this podcast. So he said, well, send me the link. Okay. So I said, okay, I'll send you the link. So I sent the link to his church email address, which is the pastor's church email address. And I sent it to the community church email address. Okay. So like I said, it's been about a month, right? Today, was small group Sunday sign up. Okay. So, I hadn't heard nothing about nothing. I didn't care really. I wanted to do my part in the church. Okay. So the day the pastor come out after he preached and everything. So he come over there where I was at. He said, "What's up, family?" He always called me family. "Hey, family." I say, "Hey, pastor." Say hi to the girl and everything. And so he says, I say, "Pastor, did you get the email I sent you about a month ago?" Say, "I saw that, but I didn't get a chance to watch it." I said, "Okay, no problem." About the podcast. No problem. He says, "Matter of fact, why don't you send it to me again?" I said, He said, no. He said, "Just go ahead and resend it to my email address." I said, "Pastor, I can promise you I'm not going to do that." I said, "No, sir, I'm not going to do that." He said, "Please, just one more time." I said, "Pastor, I'm not doing it." And I meant what I said. Because my thing is this. Okay, he my pastor, but sir, you about 10, 12 years younger than me. I'll email to you. You better go back in. And he said, "Well, what's your email address so that way I can find it?" And I told him what my email address was. And I guess that's how he going to find it, because what I wasn't about to do is come back home and resend it to him again, because that means it wasn't that important to him. Okay? And hey, I get it. But I'm not about to resend something back to you. Was I wrong, y'all? Was I wrong for telling the pastor I wasn't doing it? I meant what I said, sir. I said, "Sir, I can promise you." I said, "Pastor, I can promise you I'm not sending it to you again." And I said it with a pleasant smile and a very monotone voice. I said, "No." I was playing, I think. I wasn't playing. I'm not sending it again. Blame it on the fact that I'm a retired vet. Maybe blame it on that. But I'm in the era of I do not care. No, sir. I know you're the pastor and everything, but I'm not resending it back to you. My time is just as important. Okay. Let me know. Would y'all have resent it back to the pastor? Or was I just, being too much? But I still want to know the age of the elder, though, in the church. Or is there not an age? Let me know, y'all. I told him no. All right. Bye.
The purpose of me talking about this was simply because of this. Those were my boundaries. In other words, the way that I saw it, when it came to me sending out an email again, I'm not going to do it, because if you did not respect my time enough, to get the email. And here's the thing. Let me say this. I don't care one way or the other. I really don't. I really don't care one way or the other. However, if you tell me, hey, send it to me, or you tell me, let me take a look at it, and then you say, well, hey, I got it, but I didn't get it. Well, you know what? Just send it back. No, sir, you got to go do the work and find that email, right? I'll tell you, I'm not sending it to you again. Because why? Because that's my boundary. In other words, for me, I was shuffled off to the side. That's how I saw it. And it's not personal, right? It's definitely not personal. People have their own lives, and he's a pastor of a whole church. So he don't have time to be worried about little old me, right? That's why usually in most churches you have people before you can even get to the pastor. There's many of people that you get to, and that's why I sent the email to the main email address and not just him. So in case it did get lost, he would get it eventually. But what I'm not about to do is send it again. Why? Because that is a boundary for me. Because in my mind, I look at that as I'm not that important, and I'm not going to remind you to remember me. And that's how I see it. I'm not going to remind you to remember me. And that's just it. And that's just one of my boundaries, because I don't have time to be chasing down people to say, hey, here I am. No. Because trust me, what I do know about people is that people put effort into the things that they want or they want to find out about. And it's just that simple. I don't care how big you are. I don't care what you got going on, because I'm the same way. If I disregard something, it's because I just wasn't that interested in it. I really wasn't. I just wasn't that interested in it. And I wish people would just be okay with saying that instead of, not saying the truth. I wish what people would be okay with just saying that I'm not interested in it. And I can tell you right now that I'm not going to do it. And speaking of that, I'm going to give you another clip of something that I did the other day talking about boundaries. Take a look at this one.
Listen, y'all, let me tell y'all what happened. And I need y'all to know, what did I do the right thing? Okay, because I can't keep pretending. I can't hold that lie up. Okay, so let me tell y'all what happened. So the other day, I was sitting in my garage, right? And this lady came up to my garage because, the door was open. And, I had my screen down and everything. The screen closed on the garage door, but she could still see me or whatever, right? So I'm sitting there. And so the lady that came out the door, it was two ladies to be exact. Y'all know them ladies that come at the door. And, when we was little, our mamas and them used to tell us to don't answer the door and act like we wasn't there. Yeah, that lady. Them ladies. That lady. So she come up to my door and she started talking to me about did I know this and quoting a Bible verse. And so the Bible verse was relating to war, And I told her, I said, well, ma'am, I get it, but, I'm not interested, and then she kept talking. I said, well, ma'am, I served 25 years in the Army, so I don't think war is going to ever stop, because that was her question. Do you think war ever stop? No, ma'am, we going to always be at war somewhere. Somewhere in this world going to always be at war, and that's just how I feel. So then she says, well, can I leave you this booklet? So I said, yes, ma'am. I said, I probably won't read it, but you can leave it for me. Okay, this little, the little 5-6 page booklets they leave us. Okay. I said, yes, ma'am, you could leave it, but I'm not going to read it. And she said, well, can I come back anyway and check to you about it? I said, no, ma'am, you cannot. Because I don't want to waste your time, and I don't, I believe in not wasting time. So I don't want to waste your time. And I can tell you right now, I'm not going to read this. And I can tell you right now, I don't want you to come back. So she looked at me, she said, well, all right. And I was like, that's all I can say, ma'am. You have a good day. Bye. And I turned right back around. So y'all tell me, was I being too direct? Because, they were older ladies, but I had told her in the beginning I wasn't interested, and I wasn't callous about it, nothing, but I just said, no, ma'am, you don't need to come back because I'm not interested. Y'all let me know what I should have did. Leave a comment down below. Tell me, do y'all still pretend like y'all not at home, or do y'all answer the door? Tell me what y'all do. Leave a comment below. All right, y'all, I'm going to get my lunch back.
So right there, that clip right there is me being completely honest. Okay. I was really, really honest with that lady. Okay. I'm not going to read your pamphlet. I'm not interested in any of that. Right. I'm not. And so that's just me being honest. That's just me literally saying what I want. Right. Talking about what I desire, what I want, and me enforcing my boundaries. Right. And this is how speaking of that, I want to roll right into how do you know your boundaries are weak? You know, your boundaries are weak is if you say yes to something when you really want to say no. And then you think about it, you'd be like, why did I do that? Because why you're people pleasing. So you have to learn to say no and mean it. Understand that no is a complete sentence. You don't have to give an explanation. You don't have to give anything. Now, is it courtesy or could you? Absolutely. But you're not required. You can just say no and that's it and walk off. I've even gotten where I say, no, thank you. No, thank you. Just like that. No, thank you. No, thank you. Because I'm not doing it. No, thank you. And I mean it. No, thank you. And you're not going to make me no, thank you. And I'm very firm with that. Now, I will say this. I am in my 50s. I can recall when I was in my younger years, like my 20s and probably even my early 30s, where I was still that person that will say yes when I really meant no, because I was afraid of rejection, or I didn't want people to not like me, or I didn't want to be mean, because it would be like, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, I'll do it. Be like, no, but you really don't want to. But at the same time, you're like, okay, don't be mean. Like, helps. So there's somebody that need this or somebody that desire this or whatever it is you're being asked to do. Whether it's you giving up time, you're giving up your resources, whatever case may be, you're giving up something. And so you have to keep that in mind. And now that I am in the age that I am, it's like I had to recognize that. I had to recognize that my resources, my time, all that is valuable to me. So each time I disregard my boundaries by letting somebody take up something from me because of something that I didn't enforce, right? It's pulling from those resources. It's pulling from like my battery life, for lack of a better word, right? When you think about a battery that's not all the way green, you know what I'm saying? It's not fully charged. It's kind of like, like your iPhone, like your phone. It'll tell you that's how I look at when I'm doing things, or I'm giving in to things, or I'm people pleasing simply because I want someone to like me or whatever the case may be, right? I remember feeling like I was losing parts of myself. And so I think that as I continued to get older and as I got more into my mid 30s and then my late 30s and so on and so forth, I'm like, no, because I know that every time I do something that I don't want to do, it's taken from me, and it's taking energy, or it's taking whatever from me that I could be given to my family, given to my children, given to myself. And so one thing about that, I am very stern with the word no. Okay. And another way that you can see if your boundaries are not as strong as they are, and if they are weak, is that you feel drained after you have an interaction with somebody. And that's what I mean about your battery being on low, right? I would feel drained. I would feel like, why did I do that? Okay. Why did I do that? You know, and then another thing you can see that when you know your boundaries are not being reinforced, where your boundaries are weak, is that when you do things like that, you actually get to the point where you start resenting people because you're like, why are they always asking? Why? Because you didn't enforce your boundaries. I got people like that in my family. Hmm. 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 Yep. This is water. Okay. Right? Because I know I didn't enforce my boundaries. And so I get to the point where it's like, okay, I don't need you. Like, please stop. Like, I don't want to solve all the problems. I don't. But it's because I didn't enforce my boundaries. Okay. And so when we talk about our boundaries, let's talk about the power of your boundaries. Like it's almost like you have this, and you know what? I got this. Look at my shirt today. It says rebel. Okay. Rebel. Because when I talk about my boundaries, some people might look at me and be like, ooh, girl, you just ruthless with it. You just a rep. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Because let me tell you the power of your boundaries. Your boundaries, when you enforce them, they protect your peace. Say that again. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. When you protect your boundaries and enforce them, they protect your peace. You don't have to be thinking about what you should have did or what you should have said or you should have done. No, you don't have to worry about trying to fill back up your battery or charge your battery back up because you gave it somewhere that you didn't enforce your batteries on. No, 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 no. Okay. Another thing, the power of the battery, the boundaries. Another thing that's the power of the boundaries. If I can get my talking together here, is that it teaches other people how to treat you. Just that simple. It's like, you know what? No, no, you're not going to do that to me, and I'm not going to allow you to. And that's just it. And then when you don't want to, I mean, listen, and that's the thing about being an adult, especially when you have your own stuff, your own home, your own sanctity, your own, humble abode, right? That when you feel like you need to enforce your boundaries because people are not abiding by them, you can go to your own home. You cannot answer their phone calls. You cannot answer the doorbell when it rings. Like you can do all that if you have to. Why? Because sometimes you have to go to the drastic measures in order to enforce your boundaries. Why? Because your boundaries help protect your peace. Your boundaries also teaches people how to treat you. And not only that, but your boundaries actually models healthy relationships for your children. And so when you are doing these things with people around you and you're practicing them with as an adult, then when it comes to your children are able to say, you know what? No. And they're okay with saying no. They're okay with saying no. They're not people pleasers. They're not taught that thing like we were taught. We're trying to relearn some things here. This is what hood parenting is. We're taking what we need to take, and we're taking it and we're putting some spins on it a little bit, just a little bit, because we don't want to do those things anymore. We don't want to, because back in the day when I was a kid, the word boundaries was not even a word. Okay. I don't even know. Like the only time we use boundaries is if you go out of bounds you go out of the bounds when you're playing a sport like football, or you ran out of bounds, or you playing hopscotch, or you got to stay in the hopscotch. That's the only times we talked about no boundaries. Okay. When it comes to, I feel overstimulated, or all the emotions when we talk about people being intrusive on your boundaries. That was none of that when I was a kid. And so I am glad that I am in a generation now where I am in this generation where I am a generation Xer, where I can say, listen, I agree with the millennials or whoever that came up with this word boundary. I agree with them. Why? Because I don't want to keep doing things that I don't want to do. Like I literally don't have the heart in me. I don't have the energy no more. And I don't want to be where I become resentful, because sometimes when you're push, they say pressure busts a pipe. Okay. And so you'll look up here and you'll mess around here. And I've been exploded. I've been just ticked off, went from 0 to 100 real quick. Okay. 0 to 100 real quick. So when we talk about boundaries, we need to remember this in closing. You can't teach respect if you don't require it. And it's just that simple. All right. Boundaries aren't selfish. They're necessary. That's it. They're not selfish. They're necessary. And so as we go through life and you enforce your boundaries, don't feel bad about it. I'm telling you, don't feel bad about it. And I know sometimes we do because we have that, maybe I should have, but trust me, if it's on your heart to do something different, you will. And that's what I need to make sure people understand. It's not about doing things from other people because you do what you want to do. But if it drains you, if it burns you out, if it pulls from a place of you where you don't have the capacity to give, then those are your boundaries. Those things affect your boundaries because you don't ever want to pour from that place of you where you feel drained because resentment happens and all the things. Relationships can be ruined because boundaries were not enforced. All right. And so, listen, I don't know who this is for, but I hope you got something from this. And if this is your first time doing a drive-by, right? Come on back. I'm here every Wednesday. I will drop a video for Hood Wisdom Wednesday. And then also check me out on Sundays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time where I do Hood Parenting Live, where I talk live one-on-one to the audience and I answer some questions. And then also on Fridays, I have the Resiliency Chair where I post a live video where I answer questions that were in my inbox and so on and so forth. All right. And so listen, go ahead and show your girl some love, subscribe, do whatever you got to do. Let me know you were here and recommend this channel to somebody. You never know who might need a little hood parenting in their life, honey. All right, get into this ponytail too. Okay. All right. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Bye.